then I'm in love.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Gulfstream Park. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday afternoon on Gulfstream today. I'm Gabby Gaudette, joined by Acacia Courtney. And, well, we've had a lot going on in the past couple of days, and we still have a lot going on today. Of course, the big news is the huge carryover later in the 20-cent Rainbow Six on this 11-race program. But we wanted to backtrack yesterday because it was a huge day around the world, Acacia, and we got to witness, fortunately, you and I both got to witness excellence in the flesh in Arrogate a couple months ago in the Pegasus World Cup, but unfortunately had to watch him via the television yesterday in the Dubai World Cup.
And I don't know if that might have done him justice, but Pegasus World Cup well represented in Dubai. The USA well represented in Dubai as well. And we'll show you that Pegasus World Cup stretch. Arrogate actually missing the break. And if you go back and watch that, he was actually bumped a little bit after the break. Even Bob Baffert saying he thought it was impossible for him to win, but when he did.
And I know hypotheticals, we're not supposed to talk about it, but I almost think if he broke well, Acacia, he might have won this race by 10 lengths. and that's the truth. And no knock against Gunrunner. He's an excellent horse. He put in a huge performance in the Dubai World Cup. But if he was on to his own devices, if Arrogate broke well, he got to stalk, he could have drawn away from the field. This is just a remarkable animal. And a lot of talk on Twitter yesterday just saying, is he, or asking the question, is he the best that we've seen in recent history?
He's certainly the best that I have seen. And just looking even at that slow-mo to see how Mike Smith was aboard, and it's just a hand ride down to the wire. Considering the trip that he had, that is an amazing part as well. You mentioned Gunrunner, who certainly should be commended. Being second in the Dubai World Cup is certainly not a bad thing at all. And he showed a lot of speed that day, really game to hold on for a second in a tough field, and any other year might have been the winner. But you do kind of start to bring up that question. Arrogate, of course, a little bit of a late bloomer. He's not had that many starts, but he's just been so impressive in, I think, the biggest races where it matters. Bob Baffert even saying he thinks he's the best in Secretariat.
And I think we have to pay a lot of credit to Bob Baffert, too. I know Arrogate just has a lot of raw talent, but the way that Bob Baffert has prepared him for each and every start, with months kind of in between the Travers and the Breeders' Cup, and then obviously coming to the Pegasus World Cup and wheeling him kind of quickly in regards to his normal schedule and flying to Dubai and winning the way he did yesterday. It's really, really remarkable for everybody, even Mike Smith, not necessarily panicking when things didn't go well from the get-go.
An interesting quote that he had saying when he was that far back, which Arrogate normally isn't so far back like that. Mike Smith saying, well, I'm just going to ride him like Zenyatta. So I guess he had some good prep coming into that Dubai World Cup.
He absolutely did. And as he said, well represented. The United States was congratulations to Chad Summers getting his first victory as a trainer in the Dubai Golden Shaheen, obviously with Mind Your Biscuits. And Sharp Azteca running very well and long on value. I thought he was going to get up in the Alquaz. So that said, we should congratulate another local person, and that is Tyler Gaffleone and, of course, Mike Maker as well, shipping out of town yesterday to take the Spiral.
And that's with Fast and Accurate, of course, the Spiral, some Kentucky Derby points on the line. An interesting Kentucky Derby shaping up this year. Of course, we will have another Kentucky Derby prep next weekend with the Florida Derby, the biggest day, I guess, leading up to the Kentucky Derby here at Gulfstream Park, and some really interesting runners going to be in there. But big congratulations to the connections yesterday in the Spiral.
And 50 points to the winner after that Spiral victory. And Fast and Accurate, I was just overhearing on TVG this morning, is not Triple Crown nominated, excuse me, but the owner, Mr. Hansen, he did say they were going to pay that $200,000 to supplement him into the Kentucky Derby, as he has enough points now. So Very interesting. There's a lot going on. And even on our end, looking at some of the final workouts that we saw yesterday, really all around the state of Florida, whether it be Palm Meadows, Gulfstream Park West, and Gulfstream. We'll show you Guinevera's final prep work later on this afternoon, I believe around race 5. But pick 6 yesterday, very hard, very, very hard, as it did start off with a 99-1 winner. And Acacia, the consolation payout actually paid $40,000.
There were no singles heading into the last leg, which was not surprising and also a little bit surprising. We did have some prices that might have maybe put the Rainbow Six in danger, but we'll have that huge carryover going into today, and it hasn't been hit yet. So I'm curious to see how high we can get it.
And if it is not hit, we will have a mandatory payout the day after Florida Derby, so that will be Sunday, April 2nd. So something to look forward to. So all that said, let's get to today, and we'll show you our featured wagering menu here. And we start things off in the opener with this 50-cent early pick 5, races 1 through 5. Now, looking ahead to the 5th race, that does start the super high 5. We do have some scratches in the first half of the card, and you need 7 horses to bet that super high 5. So that'll start in the 5th, over $3,500 in that carryover. Race 6 on today's 11-race program does start the 20-cent Rainbow Six. We've got a carryover over $1.2 million in that. They did hit the guarantee yesterday of over $1.5 million. As we get to the 7th race, we do get the late pick 5, races 7 through 11. Acacia will have a ticket for that as well. And so far, we are good in terms of track conditions. We did have a little bit of rain in the area this morning. We start things off at 12:35 p.m. with our first post, and first post means the first leg of the early pick 5. Acacia, walk us through your ticket.
That sounds like a good place to start. $54 for my early pick 5 ticket. We have an even money favorite in the 1 Cunavice, and I think especially with scratches to start things off, this is the horse to beat. But I'm using a couple other horses because sometimes in these lower level claimers, especially when the logical horses scratch out, you just don't know what's going to happen. So 3 by 3 by 2 by 3, and then 2 deep in the last leg, $54.
I like it. I do think Cunavice is the horse to beat in the opener, especially with the scratches, as you said. But I don't think you can have a lot of faith in any of these runners in here. But Cunavice I like for a couple reasons, one of them being his speed and the fact that he gets in with a lightweight today with Nicky Figueroa in the saddle, 7th-pound apprentice, who's been riding in excellent form. And I wanted to go back and kind of look at Nicky Figueroa and how he's been riding speed types. And Acacia, actually the past several weeks since riding here at Gulfstream, when he's on the lead, he wins at 20%. So that's something to pay attention to, and I do think this horse will be forwardly placed.
That's a great stat to look at because we keep saying, oh, he's been riding in great form, he's been riding in great form, but specifically looking at those speedy horses, and it does, of course, help to have that lighter weight, but he just does a really good job of not only getting horses out to the front, but being able to have that follow-through, which I think is really important. If you look at the kind of layout of this race, it looked like Je ne sais pas might have been forwardly placed. He's a scratch in here. And then you just kind of don't really know what anybody else is really going to do to the rail. The 1 Mass Approval has been a bit forwardly placed before, but Cunavice is absolutely the speed of the speed and just might run away from the rest of this field.
And the only other alternative would be the 7 Cyber Josh, who is 1 for 26 on form, but does take a little bit of a drop in class from where he was last time out, and this will be his 3rd start off of the layoff. The second race on the card, 16,000 non-winners of 3 lifetime event. We're going 7.5 furlongs on the turf, and we'll go back and show you a video spotlight replay of the 4 Sassy Astray, getting into some trouble going into the first turn.
And I wanted to show this race because I do think that she'll be bet off of that. You can see her having to steady a bit. She was kind of rank going into the first turn, and she just didn't look comfortable at the back of the pack. It was a 30-5-1 pace setter and doing the Watusi, and now we'll look at her coming around the far turn. She started to move between horses and then ended up having to close wide. Of course, we did see the pace collapse a bit as that long shot pace setter along the rail kind of stopped, and it helped some horses coming from off of it. She did manage to get the win that day. That was first off the claim for Steve Glasaris. But just looking at the barn, winners last time out on the turf in the past 5 years is just 6 for 55. And as I said, I do think she'll be bet off that race. I respect her, but think there are other places to go in here.
I agree. I thought that she did get a perfect setup. We saw the second place finisher, Princess Aquila. I thought she actually ran the better race because she made the first move into that pace that collapsed. And she just looks like a filly that she causes her own issues because she does have the tendency to be a little bit rank. So we both go in separate directions, one of them being the number 6, Ortega, first off the claim for Sappy Joseph Jr.
And we've just, this is another thing we've talked about pretty much the entire meet, how well Sappy Joseph Jr. has done first off the claim. I like that the blinkers go on for this mare in here. I think that she is one that can normally sit a nice stalking trip. Probably the speed will come from your top selection publicist, and that really could be her key. But I like that Luis Saez does stay in the saddle after the claim, and just a red hot barn with this type of move.
It is. The only problem with this horse, and maybe she'll wake up now with a new barn, but she has been a bit of a money burner in the past couple of starts. I will say I do like her kind of getting more distance from 5 furlongs last time out. I don't really think that she prefers that shorter distance. Blinkers go on to try to make her more aggressive and maybe start past horses, as she has been a little bit camera shy lately. So I did think that she was one to use, but the money burning effect type of deal made me a little bit sour. So I went to the 3 publicists instead, who really has, she's trying to get that elusive victory on the turf. She is 0 for 5 so far, but last time out she was part of the pace that fell apart. It looked kind of like she was kind of uncomfortable. We saw Starship Jubilee. She got the perfect setup, and she's just been in fine form as of late. So I actually thought that this was a little bit of a class relief for her.
It really could be, and I think so too, because she was going against state-bred optional claiming types, and so now she will just face that non-winners of 3. It does look like it is a class relief. Her last win did come actually on a sloppy track, but I do think that she can run well on the turf. She is looking for that elusive victory, but as I alluded to earlier, I think her speed is her best weapon. The horse that's 9 to 5 though on the morning line is To the Rail, looking for money, who just seems to like to finish second.
Yes, she is 2 for 18 on turf. No thank you at 9 to 5. But I will say Armando de la Cerda, of course, always a trainer to respect. And do take note, jockey Nick Juarez, he will be off all of his mounts this afternoon. He had a bit of an issue coming out of the gate yesterday. He went to the hospital, got x-rays. X-rays were clean, but for precautionary purposes, he will be taking off today. Amicio Jaramillo will be riding the one looking for money. We'll take a look at the third for this open 6250 claiming event. We're going 1 1/16 onto the main track and make the rider J.A. Garcia on the 2 Danger Bay in replacement for the Nick Juarez, as we just mentioned. And the 4 Jaden's Best is not only the favorite, but looks to be the speed too.
I think that he's going to be the speed of the speed. Danger Bay and Fenerbahce have some speed as well. I just think Jaden's Best is faster, and he's been in excellent form, winning against this open company, which is what I do like. His last 2 wins were against 6250 open company. He stretched out in distance last time out from the 7 furlongs to the 1 1/16. And this is a horse that does know how to win. He's a 6-time winner. He is first off the claim, going from Jorge Navarro to Sappy Joseph Jr. And we've seen them kind of claiming horses back and forth, both having a lot of success. And so this one is who I will take for the 3rd win in a row based off of that speed.
I must have been taking crazy pills or something, picking the 3 high-quality Brents, because he is 3 for 40. That's never a good sign here. But new connections, maybe a wake up, and he's actually only been this distance 1 time in his career, and he finished a good second. It was one of his best races on form. So Angel Quiroz, we wanted to show you a stat first off the claim. Going a distance of ground on the dirt, he is 28% positive ROI of $2.38 and 67% in the money. I just don't quite trust Jaden's Best, and maybe this isn't the best alternative to try to beat the favorite, but I do think that he could run a big race here today. Whether or not for win purposes, I like him at a decent price.
He's been pretty consistent, and you mentioned him just being 3 for 40. He has had 5 seconds and 6/3, so he could certainly run a good race. And Jorge Ruiz has been having a good meet. In this small fields where you maybe have some likely favorites, you never know. I had to take a little bit of the wait and see on him today, but did have a little interest in the 5 Sky Guy, stretching out in distance. Won at the 6 furlongs last time out. He hasn't ever gone this far on the dirt before, but I do kind of like him to close with some of those other horses that promise to be forwardly placed.
And really, the 6 Fenerbahce could totally win this race. Although he's 0 for 5 at the distance, I don't think he necessarily wanted to go that far last time out. I think he's better at the mile, but this race really isn't that difficult, so he might just win off of his class. He is a 5-time winner as well. We get to the 4th race, a maiden special weight, 6 furlongs on the main track, and the 3, Valdoco, is one that figures to take some money. Now blinkers on and slightly cutting back in distance for Gustavo Delgado.
And of course, the glaring elephant in the room, if you will, is that the barn is still waiting to heat up. Gustavo Delgado, certainly a trainer to respect, is just 2 for 57 at the meet, but I think that this one has some speed and the blinkers go on.
I would say, though, Gustavo Delgado has had some bad luck.
Oh, very bad.
Either his horses have just been not braking or getting bumped at the brake that figure to show speed. It's just really, really unfortunate, but that's the name of the game. Sometimes we have our ups and downs. He's just been extremely unlucky lately.
That's just what I was going to say. That is horse racing for you. At the end of the day, we are still dealing with live animals. So I think that this one showed some speed last time. Tapster has been a main speed player as well, but Tapster just does not seem to like to win, even when things really do kind of set up for him. So blinkers on. I like this horse much better at the 6 furlongs versus the 7/8. And he finished a pretty good second in his last race at the 6 furlongs behind Lenstar, and there was no beating Lenstar that day.
There was not, and the one more front towards the inside, very lightly raced for a 5-year-old horse, but is now transferring over to the Chad Brown barn, and wanted to show you a stat for Chad Brown on the trainer switch on the dirt. Off of 180-plus day layoffs, he is 6 for 14, 43%, 64% in the money, and a positive ROI of $2.87. And I actually think that this is an encouraging move for this horse. We could have seen him on the turf, a place where Chad Brown is very strong, but he opts to sprint this horse, cut him back in distance, and face maiden special weight company off that pretty lengthy layoff. So I thought, all of that said, this was kind of a vote of confidence for the one more front.
It really could be, and he's had a very impressive work tab for the return, working really sharply at Palm Meadows, 4 and 5 furlong. Nice works to come in. Had a little bit of interest in a first-time starter. We normally see Kieran McLaughlin take a little bit more of a patient approach. Though this is a small field, it's kind of one where anything could happen. The number 6 Peace Speaker with Joel Rosario, now back from Dubai. I don't know how he and John Velasquez are doing it, but they are. This one nicely bred by Elusive Quality, stakes winning and graded stakes placed down.
Yeah, we think we had a long day yesterday. Well, Joel Rosario, Edgar Zayas, Johnny V, Javier Castellano, all of them coming back here to ride today. So hats off to them. Seriously hard workers. But Kieran McLaughlin only 2 for 36 with his first-time starter sprinting on the dirt here at Gulfstream. So that's what swayed me a little bit. We get to the 5th race, 5 furlongs on the turf for the 16,000 non-winners of 3. This again does kick off the super high 5. We've got to carry over $3,500 in this race, and we wanted to go back and show a spotlight of Pira last time out.
We will, and we both used this one. You untopped me in second. The number 6 Pira, a nice win last time for Jimmy Bond, was closing on the outside. Scandals keeps coming, who was the second place finisher, was drifting out and actually sandwiched another horse, Queeb, in there, and we'll kind of see it. It did result in a disqualification. So you see the 6 Pira on the outside, forced to go even wider because of the drifting 2 horse in there, and still managed to get the win, trying and trying down to the wire. It was very close. Of course, as I said, the 2 was disqualified from there, but thought it was a nice performance from her.
She was very determined in there, and I know that she took a little bit of time to get through her conditions, and maybe she doesn't win this here today, but she was determined last time out, and I don't think this is as strong of a field, even though she's going against non-winners of 3, as it really was in the past couple of starts. I think this is a pretty manageable field. So the 5 are Lucky Charm. She is the morning line favorite in here, and she figures to take money, but she is getting to the turf for the first time for Gerald Bennett, and we just wanted to show you a precautionary stat. Now, if you're playing those multi-race wagers, I would suggest maybe using this horse, but if she's a short price for a win proposition, maybe find some alternatives, as Gerald Bennett going from dirt to turf with his sprinters at the claiming level, only 0 for 15 and just 2 for 15, 13% in the money. So I bumped her down kind of lower on the ticket given those stats.
I did exactly the same, and she's by Ken Tharos, who can pretty much run on anything. She's got a lot of speed to her. The dam was 0 for 2 on turf and did have one sibling on turf, but she's been running at Tampa as well. She now has to see if she can transfer her form here to Gulfstream. I did land on the 2 Swapple, looking to make it 2 in a row after she cut back in distance last time out to the 1 turn on the turf. She's first off the claim, and with Angel M. Rodriguez with first off the claim winners last time out, that's not the strongest stat for that barn, but this barn just always puts horses where they can be successful, and I do like to see Luis Saez in the saddle.
And I loved the turn back in distance last time out. I remember picking this filly because if you go back and watch her performance 2 starts back at 7.5, she made this big middle move and then she flattened out, suggesting that she wants 1 turn on the turf, and that's exactly what happened when she finally sprinted. That was her first time going 5/8. She won, but as you alluded to, Angel Rodriguez too, first off the claim on the turf, only 2 for 13. I should have used her second though. In hindsight, I do still like her because I think this is a good distance for her. That is races 1 through 5. We're going to take a quick break. Acacia walked you through her early pick 5 ticket. I will walk you through my pick 6 ticket right after this commercial break.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
Saturday, April 1st, witness the country's best 3-year-olds face off in the Grade 1 ExpressBet.com Florida Derby. An epic day of thoroughbred racing. The crowning event of the championship meet. Over $2.5 million on the line. It all comes down to this. The Grade 1 ExpressBet.com Florida Derby. Only at Gulfstream Park. Derby champions start here. Saturday, April 1st, the ExpressBet.com Florida Derby. First race, 12 p.m. Welcome to your playground, Gulfstream Park.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today, and looking ahead, well, less than a week to Florida Derby Day. Everybody making their final preparations yesterday morning, and we will have that post position draw here at Gulfstream Park in 10 Palms at 11 a.m. So really looking forward to that. Also, the pick 6. We've got a $1.2 million carryover in this, and a reminder, if it is not hit in any time in between the end of the meet, it will be a mandatory payout on Sunday after Florida Derby. So we'll take a look at my ticket. I thought it was still pretty affordable here, $64.80. I wanted to find a single because I thought the 8th race, which is probably the best race on the card, was impossible. So I'm actually using 6 horses in there, but I did find a single on Ribs in the House in the 10th. Going to be using 3 horses in this leg of the sequence, followed by 3 by those 6, and 2 single and 148 in today's finale. So 64.80. We started off at 6 furlongs onto the main track. And this, too, was kind of a tricky race. I thought the one Creative Talent, though, does figure to take money for, A, it's Jorge Navarro, and B, coming out of a race where he just finished 2nd.
Yes, and she finished second. She finished second last time out. I thought it was a pretty good performance from her behind Little United, and I'll certainly use her in the top 3 picks, if you will. But now she's second off the claim for the barn. Do like that she stays in a lateral move, but I actually thought that the 2 horses to the outside, who we actually have our exacta flip-flopped, might be the right ones in this spot.
And I agree. I preferred the 7 O Kendrita here for Kathleen O'Connell. I did think that her hand might have been a little bit forced from the rail last time out. She might have more options today, but she still has that natural speed towards the outside. So I think she should be okay either pressing or stalking, however the pace may unfold in front of her. And she's coming out of a race behind Who's the Lady, who of course came back to win the Any Limit yesterday, keeping her record unblemished.
She is 4 for 4 now, and the 6 horse Tonina, who I landed on, now second off of the layoff. She had a break after her maiden win. She won so impressively in the summer at special weight company by more than 6 lengths, then wasn't seen again from August until March. Last time out, she also ran into Who's the Lady, and she actually had some trouble too. She wasn't as forwardly placed as she normally would be because of some bumping at the start. I'm thinking now second off the layoff and a little bit of class relief for both of those fillies too. Might be able to do some damage in here.
We could very well see, yes, Tonina. She's just unfortunately been hindered by some troubled trips in really all of her career starts. The 7th race does start the 50-cent late pick 5, and we start it at 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Acacia, did you manage to find a single today?
I did not today. A little bit more conservative in this pick 5 today, using 2 horses to start things off with, Hollywood Tomcat and My Celeste. I actually almost singled My Celeste in the first leg, but I wanted to throw in one more horse, then going 3 by 3 by 3, and then just using 2 deep in the last leg today with the 4 and the 8. Pretty key scratch of Stoneheart in the finale, so I'll have 2 horses in there. Hopefully I get there. $54.
Okay, I like it, and I used the 4 and the 8 along with the 1 in the final leg of the sequence there. So the 4, My Celeste, she really does look to be the horse to beat here. Although she is only 1 for 15 on form, she is taking a steep drop from Allowance Company to that $16,000 tag today. And we'll show you a stat here for trainer Dale Romans, taking his horses from Allowance Company to Claiming Company, primarily on the turf. He is 25%. $3.82. That positive ROI is very nice. And we have 54% in the money. And not only that, she's not that slow when she's been against the right level of competition. So maybe a little bit of tactical speed, but she is coming on off of a layoff.
She is. She hasn't raced since November. It's been about 4 months. And she's stretching out in distance too to the 2 turns after some 5 furlong sprints and tough Allowance Company in her last few races. So I think especially with the stretch out again, the drop in class, she will be out of the gate pretty quickly. And a horse that we actually alluded to earlier, the 6 doing the Watusi, has a lot of speed. She just seems to show speed and then stop, and even Lady Lighty has some speed, but I just think that class might prevail here for Dale Romans and Corey Lannery. Very hot duo this meet as well.
And you were talking about the pace scenario. Well, that might help the number 2 Hollywood Tomcat, the other horse that you used in the first leg of the pick 5.
That was exactly what I was thinking. She finished a 3rd last time out behind Sassy Astray and Princess Aquila. Same race we were kind of alluding to earlier, but when she closed to break her maiden 2 starts back, I thought it was a really impressive finish. And her 3 races in the barn of Chuck Simon have been really consistent and very impressive. So I do like her in this spot, especially if there is some sort of fast-paced scenario.
I was going to say that as well. Ever since getting into the Chuck Simon barn, she's just been very, very consistent. I was considering picking her on top because there are question marks with My Celeste, the layoff, the drop, et cetera, whereas Hollywood Tomcat, she's really just making a lateral move and been in great form as of late. 8 Cali Cat I also used in the pick 6. The 8th race does start the final pick 4 of the day, the 50-cent based wager. We are going 5 furlongs on the turf for this allowance optional claimer. Scratch the 2 Posse Dream and make the rider Luca Panici on the 1 Beantown Saint. And I kind of stuck towards the outside, but I told you before I had a tough time with this race, so I actually used 6 horses in the pick 6. But Brandy's Girl is one that we should pay attention to after her 2nd place performance in the Captiva Island.
And that was behind Pretty Perfection, who's just been stringing the victories together. We'll go back and show this race where Brandy's Girl was beaten just by half a length, and she was closing really wide on the turn. As I said, Pretty Perfection getting her 3rd win in a row here. Actually, Brandy's Girl 2nd behind Pretty Perfection in her last 2. So unfortunately, a horse that she just hasn't been able to beat, but she's the number 7, and you can see how wide she is. There did seem to be a lot of horses with some speed in here, so it did set up for horses that were coming from a little bit off of the pace. Brandy's Girl, interestingly enough, 2 back, was really part of that pace scenario, had to be closing wide last time, but she did show another dimension with that performance, which I do like and respect.
And she is a filly going against the boys today, but that never really concerns me, especially with turf sprinters. So she just, speed is speed, fast is fast, and if you can break sharply, well, you very well could wire the field. But I did think that she was hindered a little bit by that wide trip. There wasn't much separation between she and the winner last time out, so if she could have saved a little bit of ground. She could have even won over Pretty Perfection. So she figures to be the speed, but the 9, Big Rock, who you and I both land on for Christophe Clement, is coming in off of a layoff, and we'll show you a stat with this type of move for the barn. 61 to 180-day layoff sprinting on the turf. He's 25% out of 71 horses and a positive ROI of $2.53, 55% in the money. And obviously the previously 2 times that this horse has run at Gulfstream has been 2 turns. Today goes 5 furlongs, but that's really where Christophe Clement has been placing him in his past several starts.
And last time out was in the Grade 3 Woodford, is coming off that layoff, but we showed those great stats and was running against really tough competition, obviously running in graded stakes competition in the likes of Mongolian Saturday. But I remember this horse at Saratoga. Those 2 performances were really strong and really, really impressive. Even the one, a couple starts back in Allowance Company winning by Justin O's. I think that he's got a lot of tenacity and very game, and probably will take a lot of money in here, but I do think he's the one to beat. One more horse I had interest in was the 5, Captain Gogan, who cuts back in distance to the 1 turn. I really like him much better at this 5 furlongs.
And I do too, and I have to use him in there as well. That's why I was saying I can't leave Jason Service on the cutback. And then you even have Passion for Action for Mike DiPaolo, who has been facing Grade 1, Grade 2 company, and the class line is there. He just hasn't won in quite some time. Actually, the last time he won was last summer, and that was in a Grade 2. So he's got a tremendous amount of class, and he's 8-1. So I couldn't leave him off the ticket as well, and it's just kind of question marks abound with horses coming off layoffs, finding easier company out of graded stakes levels. So like I said, I had a tough time.
And I can't blame you at all. And this is really an interesting race because you do kind of look at it, and we talk all the time about these 5 furlong sprints as well, about how the pace is going to set up. Probably see speed from Brandy's Girl, and even Gorgeous Bird has shown some speed in the past. We just never really know which Gorgeous Bird we're going to get.
That is a very good point indeed. We'll take a look at the 9th race on the card, a maiden $50,000 race, and 7.5 furlongs on the turf make the rider Luca Panici on the 1, Distorted Union. And I believe we have a replay of Harlan's Quest.
We do. This is from December 31st, which was the last time that this horse ran on the turf. So that's why I wanted to show it, because he's back on the turf today. He's the number 9. He was 3 wide early and was just right there in the stretch. It was a blanket finish, and this was a very strong race. The winner, Pagliacci, was a first-time starter for Bill Mott, just really sharp in debut. And you see that he's right there, and what I maybe am a little bit hesitant about is that it took him a while. He was almost kind of waiting for horses to come on his outside. But as everybody just kind of crossed the wire, I thought that he was game to hold on there. He is now listed as a gelding, so do take note of that. He also drops from maiden special weight to the maiden claiming level.
And another horse that's dropping from maiden special weight to the maiden claiming level is the 2 Compagno for trainer Bill Mott. And I really, really wanted to pick this horse just from the dropping class alone, and you'll get into why you picked him here. But a precautionary stat for Bill Mott, dropping his horses from maiden special weight to the maiden claiming level on the turf, primarily at Gulfstream. He is only 3 for 21 and a negative ROI. So that's where I thought, yes, this horse is for sure one to use given the connections and given the class that he has. But I didn't like that stat.
And I saw that same stat as well, and I totally understand that. But I just said, looking at this horse, especially looking at the way that he ran in his debut, yes, he finished 8th, but he was only beaten 2 lengths. And I thought it was actually a pretty good performance. Just kind of, as I was alluding to earlier, Bill Mott takes a more patient approach. We normally see his horses really wake up after a couple of starts. Now, after that race last time out, I do understand the drop in here, but just think that his class might prevail and might wake up in this spot. You went with a speed play in So Long Chuck, who's kind of been all over the place as far as class goes.
Yes, you're totally right, and he just might not be good enough. I can maybe foresee this horse to show speed and look like he's going to run away with it, and then maybe just falter a little bit late to some of those class horses that you're mentioning that are dropping, because this horse, he has been exposed at the maiden $25,000 level behind Francesco Flyer. 7.5 furlongs seems like a good distance for him, though. I think he's got some races under his belt, and you said it perfectly. This is a speed play primarily for me.
And I can certainly see that. The 5, Our Boss, has shown speed on the dirt, but we don't know what he'll do on the turf. And usually we do see some horses from Ralph Sadie's barn just blast out of the gate.
Let's hope that's the case for that one as we get to the 10th race. An allowance optional claimer, 7 furlongs onto the turf, and still no rider announced as of yet on the 3 ribs in the house. So waiting to see that as Nick Juarez is once again off all of his mounts. But that is my single, and I like him a lot in here today. And you see boxed in, lacked room last time out. I didn't really think that that was an issue. The issue is that he missed the break, and this is a horse that needs the lead. He's not a chaser. He's not a closer. You look at his back numbers, and he wants the lead. And today's the day. He needs to show a little bit more gate speed than what he did last time out. That's key for him. If he does that, I don't think they can beat him.
And he really could just be better and run away from the rest of the field. I thought there might be a little bit more speed in here. The 4 Zoot Suit has some speed, has been forwardly placed in the past. Motown Rhythm, I think, likes to show speed. And I think that Starship Wildcat, though he's stepping up in class again, I think that he's got some speed to him too. Rivs in the House just might be the best horse in that, but he did miss the break. He was a little bit rank in that last race, I thought, too. So I will respect him, but I went with a little bit of a crazy pick in here, and that's the 6 Chia Ghost. Just looking to see if a horse can close from off of the pace, and he just might be the one that's going to be overlooked in the wagering. He comes out of stakes competition in the Silks Run, where he didn't really run in there, but you were looking at horses like Pay Any Price and Power Alert and Mongolian Saturday. That was a very tough race in there. So now he's back in this level, which again, he just might not be as classy as some of the other horses, but I'll see if tactically he can do it.
I think tactically you might be spot on with this horse and, you know, kind of low profile connections, but this horse has actually been quite the moneymaker, especially as of late. He was a 4-time winner last year, and so far 2 victories to his name in just 5 starts this year. So he can win when he's placed against the right competition. Last time out was not the right competition, but I do respect him, of course, just using him in second there, just trying to get that single home, and I'm hoping he breaks today. Wondering what rider is going to be on him. Hopefully it's a good gate rider here as we get to the 11th and final race on the Sunday card. 5 furlongs on the turf, maiden $20,000 race. And I used 4 horses in here. I was interested, 3, excuse me. I was interested with the 1 Journeys and just getting to the turf for the first time. But I think you have the right 2 in your pick 5.
And as I mentioned earlier, a pretty key scratch of the 6 Stoneheart in here. So I actually all along liked the 8 Olympico. First off, the claim for Jane Sibeli, which just overall is not the most productive move for the barn. But recently, she actually has had quite a bit of success first off the claim. And this is a horse that's been very popular at the claim box. He's making his 3rd start with the 3 different connections. Paco Lopez going to be in the saddle. He also gets back to the turf, and I thought that he showed a lot of promise in his first turf start at Gulfstream in January. So I'll give him a try in here, and he's got some speed and stalking ability to him as well.
And I've said this all along, I'm not really crazy about that race that No Phone Joe won because I didn't think it was very strong, but this is the right level for this horse, and I don't think that this field is really much different than what he faced first time out. So with experience under his belt, Jane Sibeli, she can really condition turf sprinters. So Olympico was where I landed as well. And I think it's primarily because Budding, he just doesn't like to win all the time.
No.
Do take note, though, this horse will be ridden by Tyler Gaffleone today.
He will, but you talk about money burner. He was bet down 90 cents to the dollar 2 starts back and was beaten just by 3/4 of a length. He was beaten by a neck before that and half a length before that, so he always runs well. He just hasn't seemed to be able to get to the winner's circle. He is a 13-time maiden, so they're starting to rack up, though. He seems to like to finish in second, so that's where we have him.
Exactly, and the 1 Journeys End, as I mentioned earlier. Wildcat Air out of a Roman Ruler mare getting to the turf and dropping from State Bred Maiden Special Weight Company. So that is races 1 through 11. We're going to step aside, and Pete Aiello will be up next with those scratches and changes. Thank you for joining us here at Gulfstream Park on this Sunday program. Good luck.
We have to take care of these horses that, give us so much joy.